What's up, everybody? Today we're learning about completing the square. So for our warm-up, what we're going to start out with is actually expanding expressions and then factoring expressions that don't need to be completed. So first of all, what we want to do here is factor, right? So what we can remember is our FOIL method. FOIL, first, outer, inner, last, FOIL, right? So what does that mean? Multiply your first term by itself, right? So x times x will give me x squared. Your outer, so if we were to rewrite this like x minus 5 times x minus 5, our outer would be x and 5. So x times 5 is minus 5x. And then inner, negative 5 times x, which would be minus 5x. And then last, negative 5 times negative 5 would be plus 25. And that is how we would factor it. But we can simplify this. We could get x squared minus 10x plus 25. There we go. We solved our problem there. We could do the same thing with our next one. Now I'm also going to show you a trick. Actually, the trick won't necessarily work for this one. Sorry. So once again, I want to rewrite it. So we're going to get 3x plus 5. 3x plus 5. And then we could do our FOIL again. The first 3x times 3x is going to be 9x squared. 3x times 5x will be 15x. 5x plus 5 times 3x would be plus 15x. And then 5 times 5 is 25. So when we combine everything we got here, we get 9x squared plus 30x plus 25. And there you go. We got our two answers. Let me just box them off. And boom, we're good to go. So next up, we need to factor these expressions, which is doing the opposite of what we just did. So we want to make it from this expression to a binomial, right? So in order to do that, we need to figure out what numbers can multiply together to give me 81. And we'll add together to give me 18. Actually, there should be an x here with this. So make sure you have that x on it. So it's 18x. So they want to add together to give us negative 18 and multiply together to give us 81. Well, some of us might know off the top of our head that that's going to be 9. So what this is actually going to give me is x minus 9 times x minus 9. Or in other words, x minus 9 squared. Now, my next one's going to be a little bit harder because we have two numbers here. We have the 16 and the 9. But this one's actually pretty simple because it's just going to be the square, right? Or the square root. So it's going to be 4x plus 3 and then 4x plus 9. There's not really many numbers that divide into 9 or 16 besides 4 and 3. And then the way we could think about it, oh wait, this should be 9. I'm silly. This should be a 3. Oh. The way we think about it is 4 times 3 is 12. And then 4 times 3 is 12. Add those two together, it gives me 24x in the middle. So that's our old skills. That was a warm-up. Now let's get into what we're actually doing today. And we want to solve equations by completing the square. But what is completing the square, right? So the model shows completing the square for x squared plus 6. And it's literally completing a square, as you could see in the picture down below. And what we could do is by adding 9 unit tiles, the resulting perfect square trinomial is x squared plus 6x plus 9. Note that completing the square does not produce an equivalent expression, right? So the way we do this is by using a number that we call b here, right? So we could look at this expression as x squared plus bx plus c, right? And in order to find c, right, if we want this to be a perfect completing the square like trinomial, we could say c is equal to b divided by 2 squared, right? Which you'll see down here. And that b in this equation is 6, so they do 6 divided by 2, which will be 3. 3 squared gives me 9, and that's how they got this 9 that they added on the end. And notice it creates a perfect square in this diagram, right? We have a x squared, we have an x, and x, right? Those x's, there's 6 of them, which is that 6x in the middle. And then we added this 9 in the box here, the 9 unit tiles. And it gave us this perfect square, right? Isn't math beautiful? So let's do this ourselves, right? So if we want to complete the square in this one, we want to figure out what number comes down here, right? So we need to take this number right here, 14. Now, it doesn't matter if it has a plus or a minus in front of it. That does not matter one bit. Because when we square it, it's going to get rid of it, right? And whether it's negative or positive, it's going to turn into a positive. So what we want to do is we want to say 14 divided by 2, and we want to square it, right? That's going to give me 7 squared, which will equal 49. The number that goes in this box right here is 49. And there we go. We completed our square for our first problem. Nice and simple, right? All you do is take the middle number of the trinomial, the one that's next to our x, you divide it by 2, and then square that, and boom, you got your answer. Let's see it once again. So now our middle number is 9. We do 9 divided by 2. Uh-oh. Well, this is going to run us into a problem here, right? So what we're going to have to do then is square this, right? Which will give me 81 over 4. And now we can't really simplify this, so our answer is going to be 81 over 4. That's the simplest version. You can put it in a decimal, but it's going to get sloppy. So we're just going to stick with this simpler version here with what we got, right? So sometimes you're going to get a fraction like this, especially if you have an odd number, right? So I'm going to leave this problem for you guys to try. So it says x squared plus 4x plus a blank space, right? And that blank space needs to be filled in. So you've seen a couple examples. I want you guys to try this one on your own. Along with x squared minus 4x, I want to see what you get. And one more, x squared plus 3x plus a blank space. What happens here? So next problem we're going to do together is this one right here. Now, if you're watching this online and you want to try this yourself, if you're not in my class and don't have the PowerPoint, what you could do is just pause the video at those problems, write them down, and try them yourself. But if you are in my class, make sure you do it because it's a grade. Haha. So here we have our next problem, and this one's going to be a little different because it's not in the proper form that we were just seeing. And what does that mean? That means we're already given a whole number, which we don't really want, and my x squared and x are on two different sides. The first thing we have to do is bring this x over here, 12x, right? Which will give me x squared minus 12x equals negative 20. Now, that negative 20 is just there, right? It's just holding a spot. And it's going to come into play later, but we don't need it right yet. What we want is to get a whole number here. So I'm just going to rewrite this one more time. X squared minus 12x. And then we want plus something, right? And that's what we want to find there. We want to find that plus something. But if we add it to that side, when we have this negative 20 here, we also are going to have to add it to this side. So this blank is going to be the same on both sides. But since we're going to be adding it to our expression, what you do to one side, you have to do the other to keep that scale even, right? So once again, we start with this middle number here, that 12, right? We're going to say 12 divided by 2. And then whatever we get, we want to square. So 12 divided by 2, we all know gives us 6. Square it. 6 times 6 gives me 36. So on both sides, I'm going to add 36. This gives me my perfect trinomial here. And then on my right side, we add the 36. So if I want to simplify this equation, we could say x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 16. Now, another thing we can do with all these equations, which I forgot to show you earlier, if we're just looking at our trinomial right here, we could factor this. And the way we factor it is by using the half of that middle number, right? So the 12 divided by 2, that number we could rewrite. So we could use that by saying x, whatever the middle sign is, so this middle sign is a minus sign, minus, and then whatever that divided by 2 was, or the square root of 36, which they should be the same number if you did it right, which is 6, and then you write the square out here. And this means the same thing, right? They mean the same exact thing. And that's why it's called a perfect square. And then this would still equal 16. Still works perfectly just like that. But once again, what did I do? How did I find this number, the minus 6 here? Well, the minus 6 came from dividing this middle number, the coefficient next to our x, by 2. That's where we got that number from. So now that you saw the problem that I did, I am going to leave this last problem for you to try. I know this is a shorter video, but I wanted more problems for you guys to do yourself. So try this problem using the idea we just did on that last one. You're just going to have to rearrange it first and then solve it, and you guys should be good to go. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, obviously you could comment down below in the video. If you're in my class, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're in someone else's class, don't be afraid to ask that teacher for help. Teachers are here to help. And that's what we do. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all next time. Peace.